This special episode is an audio archive of the UK Games Expo panel Judge Dredd in the Worlds of 2000 AD Q&A, originally live-streamed Saturday, August 22nd on the Ian Publishing Judge Dredd in the Worlds of 2000 AD Facebook page and our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Ian Publishing.
Hello, and this is Ian Publishing back at the UK Games Expo, Virtually Expo. I'm here with my colleague Mark, who's the line manager for the 2000 AD line, which we're going to be discussing today. Mark, I'll pass over to you so you can introduce yourself and talk about 2000 AD RPGs.
Hello, I'm Mark Langworthy. I'm the line manager for 2000 AD and Judge Dredd, as Jess said. Thank you, Jess. We're here today to talk things from Judge Dredd through to Strontium Dog, Rogue Trooper, and maybe even a £3 nobbler or two.
Definitely. So those that aren't familiar with 2000 AD and Judge Dredd, what is that world like in the comic books?
So it's kind of an extreme dystopian future where, for Judge Dredd specifically, where humanity is kind of gathered into huge conurbations called megacities. Mm-hmm. And everything outside the megacities is either ruined wasteland or just unlivable for whichever reason. And we particularly picked up Judge Dredd at the kind of start of his career and followed him. We're following through the supplements as the comic books progressed back in the day, basically. Although, having said that, the core book gives you a wide range of eras to play in. In the supplements, we're kind of moving through his timeline very slowly. But yeah, kind of very authoritarian police force that are very strict on the law. Mm-hmm. And it's just instant judgment, basically, by the judges. They spend a lifetime from childhood training to be able to carry out the tasks.
Well, that sounds lovely and nothing like modern times we live in now. Exactly. Okay, great. So that's kind of the setting. Some people will be kind of familiar with that world and what's happening with that. So specifically, what is it you do in your job? Because I mentioned you were the line manager. So what does that involve?
Yeah, so I came on towards the end of last year and picked up with the cast staff, and that involved basically wrangling all the text we'd already had from the crew of writers, getting that into a format for layout, ensuring all the artwork fit in the right places. So we have a great art director in the form of Michael McCarthy, who gathers all the artwork from Rebellion and assigns as much as possible to the text. So we work as a team, really. I kind of oversee the team to make sure all those elements come together into the beautifully produced book that ends up in people's hands.
The beautifully produced book like this one, do you mean, Mark?
Like that one, yes.
Exactly like this one. So this is the core kind of rule book here. That I've got in my hands. We have our first comment here. Yeah, it's Jess and Mark. And yeah, it is. So Mark's introduced himself and what he does. My name is Jessica. I am the publishing administrator. I do all the boring stuff in the background to help run the business that Russ doesn't want to do. So right now it's just myself and Mark, but we will have lots of wonderful people joining us. So in a bit, we're going to have Russ and Darren join us, who are responsible for this beautiful thing here. We're also having Andrew coming along, who did write the Robot Wars. We're also having John White as well come along to discuss the books he's written. So we're going to have more people kind of jumping in as we go through the stream to keep a bit of variety with it there. So we have a lot of love coming through from people here. These guys do a really fun Twitch stream they're running their game of Judge Dredd, which I think you watched it with me, didn't you, Mark? We watched their first episode of it.
Yeah, this Judge Wolf.
Yeah.
They're a great bunch of guys. I try and get this. It's for the UK. It's very late for us, but I do try and get on as much as possible if I'm working late. But they're a good crew.
Mega Cruise is quite fun. And yes, shiny books. The books are very shiny. That's another one of our writers there, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of a brief thing that's going on. We've got lots of people leaving comments, which is fantastic. And very interested for the news on Rogue Trooper Sourcebook. Well, keep watching. We'll let you know at 4:30. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump in a little bit more. So we've talked a little bit about the setting and the 2000 AD kind of line and what we do with that. So talking more in detail about the game. So if people are familiar with Judge Dredd, they know the setting, they've played a few role-playing games, can you tell us about the mechanics of the gaming and the system and how that works?
Yeah, sure. We talked about this a little bit earlier on our morning live stream. So the mechanics behind Judge Dredd are the what's old is new system. So they've taken the kind of elements of the three fantasy, modern, and futuristic settings, taken the best of those elements and made it the mechanics behind Judge Dredd. And we do draw on various elements of the three settings as well, funnily enough, because if you go out to stuff, it's a very different setting from the kind of futuristic setting of just in the megacities. So we do work between the three, but that's all available as part of the core book.
That's very good. So somebody's commented here that they really like the career style of character generation. So it gives a feel for the character. So how does character generation work in the core rulebook?
So it's a life path system. So you kind of you pick your species. You could be a human, you could be a robot, you could be a clone, one of the judge clones kind of thing. And the species open up as the supplements. You delve more into the supplements. So you pick a species, and that gives you a basis to start from with your statistics. And then you kind of pick an adolescent career, and then evolve into other careers, and progressing up through those 5 stages really of a life path into where you first go out and take your adventuring steps, so to say, into the wide world of the megacities. Yeah,
that's pretty much how it was. When I first saw the system, I was worried it was going to be really complicated to make the character, but I actually found it with the book reasonably easy to kind of make my character with it. So at first look, I think for someone like me who plays some lighter RPGs sometimes, I was a little bit like, oh no, but actually when you go through it, it actually makes quite sense and is quite logical. So it's good fun. It also helped that you were there to help me as well, Mark. So, and John and Russ last year. So that was helpful.
Playtesting Rogue Trooper, actually, weren't we?
We were playtesting Rogue Trooper, yes. Yeah. But we will talk more about Rogue Trooper later. I have a schedule. I wrote a system down and everything, Mark. Come on now.
Sorry to derail you.
No, that's fine. Don't worry. So as I said, we're taking some questions. A bunch of new people have just joined us. Hello. So we're taking questions at the moment. And if you ask a question, you'll be entered into the prize draw to win a free copy of Rogue Trooper, which will be out later this year. And we will talk about that a little bit later. So I have some questions here for you, Mark, that have already come in, which is really, really great. So Ryan here has asked, what has been your favourite part of Dredd so far?
Tough one, really.
Yeah.
We've got so many cool things going on as well. So I think at the moment it has to be the day the Lord died, but then that's kind of when I started getting into Dredd myself back in the day. So we just had approval on that text as well by Rebellion, so I'm really, really excited about that.
So that'll be the next thing, not in the 2000 AD line, but the next Judge Dredd story we release. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, in behind Rogue Trooper, actually.
Okay, so that'll probably be in the later part of this year or early next year. That'll be coming out, is it?
Yeah. I'm hoping it'll make a nice Christmas present for people. So
okay,
that's what we're aiming for.
We'll see what we can do. So everyone wants to know about Rogue Trooper now. I said no, everybody. We'll do it later. So there's a question here for us, but I think this is before Mark and myself were involved with the company. So it's a question about the GM screen and why so much space was given to character generation. And there's a suggestion that they could have done different, more useful tables. So noted on your feedback there, but I think, because when was it you joined the company, Mark? Was it
I joined August, September last year. So yeah, it would be after the screen and the core book. We'll save that one for Russ, I think.
Save that for Russ. He'll be coming on in about 5 minutes or so with Darren, and so he can talk about that side of things, because myself and Mark weren't involved at that time. So questions that we've had about the games is, are mutations available, like the psychic mutation? And I think the quick answer to that is yes, mutations are available, because they feature more in different books apart from the core one. Is that right?
Yeah, they feature heavily in Cursed Earth. There are a lot of mutants in Cursed Earth that try and scrape living out of the wastelands out there, and they have various mutations, including psychic powers. We also delved into them quite a lot in Strontian Dog, because Strontian Dogs are mutants. So there's even more in there as well. That includes psychic powers, yeah.
We've also had a question as well about what the chances we'll see a Xenomorph Judge Dredd crossover. So that is a different license. Is that not fair to say? But this game is powered using what's old is new, and we do actually have a kind of a Xenomorph themed, not the official licensed one, but about aliens in space kind of themed game. So in theory, you could use any of those other books and you blend it with them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you have a look on our website, there's a PDF for that. So you could, in theory, do that now if you were interested. So I think the main thing that, so I'm answering some more questions here because they're coming in, which is absolutely great because otherwise we'd be sat here just talking the two of us. And Matt has asked what villains come with the game. And my assumption is in the core book. So if we just talk about the core book for now, because we'll go into detail about the other books as we get the writers jumping in throughout the stream. So what villains are going to come in here? Do you know?
You find blitz agents, mafia bosses, the kind of more standard agents, standard villains that a judge might go into on patrol. And as we've progressed into the supplements and the storyline, that's where we've started to bring in the characters that feature in those storylines. So, thinking back to Kerstaff and my involvement, we did bring the Angel Gang in, although they'll feature again in Judge Child, which is being written at the moment.
Yeah.
And we brought in some of the bigger key villains that feature along the Kerstaff trail. It's an epic campaign for Judge Dredd. So more the main key villains. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting to PJ maybe. Some of the villains that are a bit more nefarious in the background than being so up front for the storylines.
Nefarious villains in the background. I like it. We've had a question which I don't know the answer to, Mark, but you may. And it's, is there a plan for when ABC Warriors will be approached?
I think you've made Russ's day with that question, Chris. We're heading back to Judge Dredd for the time being because we've now left him for Strontium Dog and Rogue Trooper to come. So we're heading back for a few supplements, but we will continue to watch this space really and keep you updated. Is all I can say.
Fab. And then we have another question here from Andrew saying, "What's the expected number of players for the squad of judges?" As he's finding 5 is too many. So what have you found in your games?
I would say 4 to 6. I mean, 5 could easily overwhelm the situation, I'd imagine.
I ran, I don't often GM games, I normally play, and I have run one game as a GM, and it was, funnily enough, this very game. It was one of the little mini adventures we have on our website, the Monkey Business one, and I ran that with 4 judges, and that felt about right to me. It felt, especially as a new GM, that felt like a manageable table. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure how many. If you do you normally play with 4 or? Yeah,
I mean my group rarely goes beyond 4. I'd say if you're struggling, then just think about scaling the encounters. Add in a few more monkeys in the monkey scenario, or because they are judges. They are the powerhouses of the setting. So. Yeah,
but you don't have to play judges in this setting, though, do you? You can play.
You don't have to play judges. No.
Yeah, so you can play the perps.
You could play the perps. You could play some tech assistants to judges, although they have detective. You might downscale it that way, I guess, for the judges by having a particular spread of skills between each of the judges.
Yeah, we've had a good suggestion in terms of player count. The solution is instead of having all the players be the judges, you could have extra PCs, being not judges.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
the judges have called in particular areas.
There we go. That's an easy thing to do there. Okay, it is a great first adventure to the demo game. Yes, so we usually last year at the UK Games Expo, that was a demo game that Russ came up with, and it's ended up being written up. And we have a few of them on our site that are PDFs that you can download straight away from there, empublishingrpg.com. Little sales plug there. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is I think we'll bring in Darren and Russ to come and join us to talk a little bit more about the core book, the writing process, and the Kickstarter campaign that came after that. So if you are ready, Russ and Darren, I'm going to bring you into the stream now. Okay, here we go. Welcome, Darren, and welcome, Russ. For those of us that are just joining, we are EN Publishing. We are a British tabletop RPG company, and right now we are discussing our Judge Dredd and the World of 2000 AD RPG line. We have just had Darren and Russ join us, who are the writers for this game. Darren, you're just on mute at the moment, so if you could take yourself off mute.
Hello.
And then we could say hello. There we go. So Russ, do you want to start and talk about when you launched this, had the idea, and the Kickstarter for when this all started?
I do. I want nothing more than to start and talk about that. Okay, what do you
That's good. So, obviously, Russ, for those who don't know, is a big boss here at EM Publishing, so we all do what he says. And so, can you talk about what
Nobody ever does what I say.
That's so not true.
Really
So not true. So not true.
Okay, could you talk about the beginnings of this? So when you first got the license to do this with EM Publishing and the Kickstarter campaign. So how you made it happen, really?
That is the thing I can do. Okay, so
Great.
license. So this is back when Angus Abramson used to work with the company doing your job before you joined the company, and Angus and I were talking about potential licenses, and we both loved the idea of a 2000 AD license. And kind of luckily, Angus used to work at Cubicle 7, which was based in the same physical office building as Rebellion. So he had that personal connection. And so it was really easy to set up a meeting. So we went up there, and I was imagining it was going to be this really intense kind of scary thing. But we just went into a room, we sat down, we had a chat with them. They all knew what an RPG was, because they'd worked with Cubicle 7 before, and so they've had relationships with Mongoose and things like that. So they knew what we were talking about. And they were just like so friendly and just so, they were on board with the idea straight away. It was such an easy conversation. It took about 45 minutes, I think, maybe an hour in total. And we left that room just saying, yeah, well, we're doing this then. Excellent, great, fantastic. So that was, so we went up to Oxford to do that, drove back down to Southampton, and just literally started work. And I think, Darren, did you know that we were pitching it before we did, or did we contact you afterwards? I can't remember.
Oh, Angus contacted me, and it went, if you remember, he contacted me and he said, I've got this thing that we're doing, but I can't tell you about it. But it's on your list of Facebook likes. And I'm racking my brain trying to work out what he's talking about. And he says, I'll call Russ and I'll call you back. Then he called you, and obviously he must have got your approval to say, yeah, tell him. So he went back and he said, it's Judge Dredd and the worlds of 2000 AD. And it took me about 2.2 seconds to say yes.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I've been a thorn in your side ever since.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say you're
true.
a mega fan, aren't you, Darren? You're
But yeah, so that's, I was going to talk more to you, Darren, about, so what's your history with Judge Dredd as in the comic books, and then also your work as a RPG writer. So could we talk about that a little bit?
Wow. With 2000 AD in general, my history goes back to when I was a kid. Comics. My nan bought me this comic way back. And she said, oh, you like these comics? Maybe you'll like this one. And it was 2000 AD. And I read it and I thought, oh, this is a bit different to the comics I was used to reading at the time. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Judge Dredd. I fell in love with Strontium Dog. And when they released Nemesis the Warlock, my mind was blown, because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And growing up, I always wanted to be a comic book writer for 2000 AD. That was one of my things. I set my sights on that. And then when role-playing games came around, I was 10 when my mum and dad bought me D&D. The good old red box we keep on the Borderlands. And since then, I've always wanted to do role-playing game writing. And then in 2000, I had the first shot with Dark Quest games. And it was just a small little piece of fiction in one of their books. And from that point on, it snowballed over the years. For 21 years, it snowballed on and on and on and on. With things like the Doctor Who role-playing game, Lone Wolf role-playing game, working with other things like Savage Worlds, Shinetar, and Suzerain, the Savage Mojo, and a bunch of indie things here and there, working with Gavin Knight Games and Alan Barr. And then when Angus contacted me on 2000 AD, that was it. I was set, because one of the things, as I said, I wanted to do this comic book writing. The best thing for me is to be able to work on a role-playing game line that is directly focused on one of my favourite, if not my favourite, comics.
That's fab. So you've got a fan not just for your writing, Darren, but also for your hat, just so you know.
It's either Naval Criminal Investigation Services, or when I'm somewhere around technology, it's no computer is safe.
that hopefully that's not the case for this stream today, but that should be fingers crossed. So I have a question from Max here, which for the three of you, about how do you determine the dice mechanics for the system? So Russ, I don't know if that's more directed towards you for the system.
Yeah, so the What's Old is New system goes back, it predates this game, so it goes back to like 6 years ago or so, when I created the system itself, and that was very much inspired by some earlier games like West End Games Ghostbusters RPG was the inspiration for the dice, because that was the first ever dice pool system as well. A bit of trivia. So that was where the dice pool came from. The whole life path system was influenced by things like Traveller and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and a bunch of different, because I've always loved life path games as well. So yeah, it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of a little bit, it was just kind of like a love letter to some of my favourite games of the 80s, just bringing all those elements that I really, really liked together into one kind of cohesive system.
Fair enough. We have another question on What's Old is New, about have you thought of adding a botch system maybe, since there's you can read the question there.
Yeah, doesn't work. So if 3 ones is a botch, the more dice you're rolling, the more likely you are to fumble.
Yeah.
So
we've had a bunch more people join the stream now, which is really great. We've got about 40 people here. So hello, welcome. If you're unfamiliar, we are EM Publishing, the British RPG company, and we're talking about the Judge Dredd and World of 2000 AD RPG lines at the moment. If you make a comment and ask some questions, we will answer them, and you'll also be entered into a draw to win a copy of Rogue Trooper, which is the next book to appear in our line. And we'll be having a bit more information about that in about an hour, with a fun announcement during the stream. So, Darren, coming back to you with some questions about that. So I was wondering if you could talk about your role in creating this book. So the system, obviously, Russ kind of was the mastermind behind, but I understand you did a lot of the writing work for that. So what did that involve, and how did you approach that?
Oh, these are always interesting questions. I approached it by reading any Judge Dredd comic, resource online, or anything that I could get my hands on first for a while before I even started to write. And then Russ put me in contact with Nick Robinson, and we created a huge folder of reference. And between me and Nick, we put together almost like a plan of things we wanted to see in the book, because we really had no idea what the book was going to actually look like from beginning to end, but we knew we wanted these careers. And so we had judge careers, citizen careers, perp careers, and I had to sit through with Nick and basically come up with all the careers that we thought would work, and add some more, remove some we thought didn't work. And we went through a whole iterative process that actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, in getting a sort of package of each one. And then I went off and wrote the text about them, to which then Russ had the nightmare of editing. Look at his face.
Anything to comment on that, Russ?
I see Mark shares my pain.
You love me, really, though. I am one of the easiest people in the industry to work with, he said, tooting his own horn. I have to keep it clean because my dad's watching. My dad.
Is your dad watching? Say hi to your dad. Okay, that's great. So I have a question that probably all of us can answer that are here at the moment, about from Chris, asking what our favourite character that we played in the system so far is. My favourite thing I've done, as I said, isn't actually playing a character. My first game I ever GM'd was this game, so that's kind of my fondest memory. So it's not really a character, but the role of GM is what I'll do for mine. So Mark, I don't know, do you have a particular character you've enjoyed playing in the universe?
I think it just relates to the fun we had at our playtesting session for Rogue Trooper, really. I've really enjoyed delving into, we weren't even playing GIs at the time, were we? We were playing some civilians out there, but it was fun to work through that.
Fab. Darren, what about you?
Well, like you, I don't tend to play IGM, but I must admit I had a lot of fun coming up with the EN system for Strontium Dog by putting my players through hell.
You mean this very book here?
This book that arrived this morning as well.
Mine arrived today too.
Wait, everyone except me. This is what's going on?
Mine and Mark's copy arrived between our stream this morning and just now, but the rest hasn't.
Yeah, my favourite thing was basically putting Jill and the other players through various little bits and pieces of Strontium Dog, and iterating on ideas. In fact, some of the scenarios that turn up in the book were adapted from things I've done, especially the bounty hunts.
Russ, do you have a favourite character you've played in the universe? Or are you GMing most of the time?
Because I designed the system, I find it really hard to play it because I just want to run it.
Yeah, I guess.
Every time a GM makes a mistake, I'm like,
yeah, I will never.
Yeah.
I will never GM a game for you, Russ. Never. So
you will.
And we've had some people commenting the characters they've enjoyed playing in the chat as well, which is really nice to see. It's great to see people kind of enjoying that. So we've had a question about the general line as well, and that is about, are we going to see Dark Judges coming in at any point?
Wow.
And sympathy, Russ, that your book has not yet arrived.
Wow.
Well, the answer to the question is yes.
Yeah. Technically, they should have been next in line after the day the law died, but
it's only for one short story, isn't it?
It's only for one short story, so we were like, let's just move ahead beyond that and then come back to the kind of whole run of the Dark Judges.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very soon, really, because it's not too far after Just Child.
Yeah, and the other fun thing about the Dark Judges is it's going to be when we first start to meet some of the psionic stuff that isn't in the core rulebook.
Yeah,
that's going to be fun too. Because like where First Earth expanded the mutant stuff, and where Robot Wars expanded the robot stuff, that is going to be a big old psionic book as well.
Fancy.
We try and work on different elements we can bring in with each supplement. So Chaos Staff would have been mutants. Luna One were obviously the martial colonies up on the moon. Day of Lord, we're looking more into the SJS. Judge Child, we're looking into the administrative side, and again going back into exploring space with the line. So we're trying to bring in a little bit different with each supplement, and Dark Judges will really delve into the psychic side of things.
So we found out the issue to Ross's audio. It's not Ross's fault at all.
Oh, so that's Daryl. He's a sound engineer on our podcast, on our weekly podcast. And my general rule in life is always blame everything on Daryl, because
Daryl's awesome.
Usually his fault. Yeah.
And who says it is his fault?
Daryl is awesome.
Speaking of the podcast, what is that called, and where can people listen to that if they're interested in RPG things?
That is cool. Ooh, Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. To see how that slips off the tongue now. I can say that so many times now. No one else can say it. Except me. And you can find that at morris.podbean.com or any podcatching app that you may have. It's on iTunes, it's on Google, it's on everything. It's on all the things, all the podcast things, it's on it.
Excellent. So that's just general tabletop RPG news, not just publishing, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, so we do the week's RPG news, and then we usually have a guest on each week, and we'll just talk about their latest Kickstarter or something like that. And then we have really, really hilarious, amazing, fantastic, really well acted, brilliantly timed comedic sketches halfway through. And they're really well written as well. The writer of those sketches is an absolute genius. His name is Russ Morrissey, I think his name is. And,
I've heard that. I've heard his talent is only outstretched by his modesty. So, yes. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that just because reasons. So this question here I've had about rules for mutations and psychic powers. There's in the rules so far. Do we have any plans to include magic for future settings?
Well, we could have technically added it into Strontium Dog with Lear and Sorcery.
Yeah. I was going to say the sorcerers.
But it's just so jam packed full of cool stuff anyway. So possibly with a future Strontium Dog supplement, or maybe further down the line with.
But if you want to mix magic in now, just pick up the 1/3 of the What's What Is New system, the old book, and that has magic rules in it, and you can. Oh, it's all completely compatible because it's all What's What Is New, so you can whack that straight in there straight away.
Yeah.
Speaking about What's What Is New, we've got somebody here. So they're starting with What's What Is New. So what is a good adventure to run for a new GM? So if you're a new GM looking to run an adventure for that.
I'm quite fond of our latest one, which me and Darren co-wrote, actually, which is the Spartan Gambit. So the Spartan Gambit, there's also a prequel PDF to it, which is a short adventure on an ice planet. And it's all set aboard this starship, which is basically, it's not the Enterprise, but it's the Enterprise. But it's not the Enterprise because it's called Copernicus, and it doesn't look like the Enterprise, but it's the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And and then you end up back on the ship, and it's basically Die Hard on a spaceship. And these Spartans, and the Spartans, and they're not Klingons, but they're Klingons, but they're not Klingons, but they are Klingons, but they're not Klingons. And they've taken over the ship, and you're all sort of like, you're Bruce Willis, but you're not Bruce Willis, but you are Bruce Willis, but you're not Bruce Willis, and you're crawling through all the lift shafts and all the what do you call them, the tubey things, what are they called? Maintenance things, yeah, and ladders and stuff like that, and try to take the ship back by killing off the Spartans one by one. It's great fun.
Jeffrey's tubes.
Jeffrey's tubes, yes, but they're not Jeffrey's tubes, but they are Jeffrey's tubes.
Maybe you put the serial numbers on. So are they just Jeff tubes now?
Yes.
And this was another one that Darren, you worked on as well.
Yeah, with Russ's brief to me on that one was, I want Die Hard on the spaceship. That was it.
I mean, who doesn't? I've also in the chat, I've linked that in the chat for everybody to have a look at. So if you're interested in that, you can download the PDF of that today at this very moment, or you can order the softcover as well. So there's an answer for something for a first-time GM to kind of write. And Russ, everybody's loving how you explain things as well. Oh, somebody has some nice building work in the background in the audio there.
Basically, next door, every time I go on a stream or do a podcast, they start drilling. And honestly, it's been like for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. Every time, without fail, they suddenly start drilling.
So I don't know if anyone else has any more questions for Darren and Russ about any What's Old is New things, or about their development of the base game coming out here. This was done via Kickstarter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that do? Because I wasn't with the company when that.
That's really good.
Wow.
I think it's like £140,000 or something like that. It's been our best Kickstarter to date, which is kind of unsurprising, really.
Yeah. A lot of love for the universe.
Yeah. It did really, really well. Super happy with that.
Okay, what I might do then, as we have kind of come to enough discussions about that, I might bring in Andrew a little bit early. So Andrew, who is here to discuss the Robot Wars with us, which was part of the Kickstarter. Was it released as part of it? The first adventure with it, I believe?
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? We can ask somebody who will know. So we'll bring on Andrew Peregrine now. Hello, Andy.
How you doing? Can you all hear me all right? Yes.
Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Greetings. Hello. Get down.
So welcome to the stream. So for people that are just joining, so every now and then I'll jump in because of the nature of people dropping in and out. So we are EM Publishing. We are a British tabletop RPG company. We are talking about our current game, Judge Dredd and the World of 2000 AD line. And we have the writers here with me. And so Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself as a writer and your involvement with the line?
Hi, I'm Andy. I've worked on the line for Robot Wars, Luna 1, and a couple of other bits and pieces. I've been freelancing for several years. I started with 7th Sea and Buffy were the first things that got me a break in it. Worked a lot with Cubicle 7, done some work with, particularly Darren and I worked on Doctor Who together for a lot of stuff. And I'm currently as well working on managing the project for Dune for Modiphius, which I'm very excited about and really would love to talk about, but can't. So yeah, I've been phenomenally lucky that all the, if I had a tick box of things I'd love to work on, I pretty much tick them all now. And it's just amazing to be in that position. So very, very pleased. And it was great to work on Dredd as well, because this is what I love about this one is it is far crazier than you expect anything to be. There is usually when you're about to write something, you'll figure something out, and then you'll have an idea about where you want to go, where you want to take something, and you go, oh no, but I can't do that. That's either too weird or dark, or that's too off the wall, or that's just too plain surreal. No one will get it. And if you do that for Dredd, it sort of just goes, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. I mean, the robots they are insane. They are, absolutely, and pretty much everyone in Mega City 1 has serious, issue. The whole city is just a madhouse, and this means you can do just the most weird, incredible, off the wall stuff that you just cannot do in any other game. Which gives you an immense amount of freedom. again, lets you go to really crazy places, dark places, strange places. The variety is just absolutely infinite.
Fab. And you worked specifically on the Robot Wars. So have you got a copy of the book there to show off? I don't have one in front of me. Yeah. And this was one of the very early first adventures we did. So can you talk specifically about that? What's that storyline in the Judge Dredd universe?
Well, I was our first stretch goal, so that was great to have. The Robot Wars itself, it's mostly came about. I ended up with this because I'm the one who doesn't know too much about Judge Dredd. Obviously, I read it when I was smaller and kept up with it. But this is also one of the easiest things to research because the way we've done things, where we're working story by story, you can just sit down, an hour or two, enjoy just reading that whole story again, and you're there, you're ready to go. And there's so many more inspiring things, you won't fit it all in one supplement anyway. So I had come when I'd heard about 2000 AD, the worlds, and this was all happening. I think I nagged Russ and Angus and said, "Oh, I rather fancy doing Robusters. They crazy robots, and that sounds really great." And then Angus and Russ said to me, "Well, we're doing the Robot Wars. It's the first supplement." I said, "What's that one? I better read up on that." And it was all things with the Robusters. So that was amazing to do. The supplement itself obviously covers all the stuff about robots, how to create them as player characters, but we not just as a statistical thing, but as how they think and feel, because that's how robots are interesting in 2000 AD. It's that mixture of their desperation, it's almost desperation to please humans who treat them absolutely appallingly. Robots are, they are thrown away, treated as rubbish most of the time, and yet they are clearly, if you read the comics, thinking and even feeling machines. Yet the other thing that just makes them entertaining to write is that they are so single-minded, and their simplicity adds complications. So Walter the robot is a servant, and all he wants to do is serve, and so his worldview is quite simplistic that way. But in doing that, there are a lot of things in the way that character works that makes things so much more interesting and more complicated.
I had great fun when we did a playtest of Road Trooper. I played a robot in that, and I pretty much made someone that was C-3PO. And they were completely rubbish in the combat scenario we were in, but they just knew all the languages and all the social etiquettes and all these things. And that was really good fun to play with. So I did enjoy that. I do have a question coming in here about the skills here. So I don't know who wants to answer this one. They're curious.
It's supposed to be insight.
There you go.
The skill should be insight, not intuition.
There we go. I hope that answers your question. So that'll be that there. So somebody's also asking about another setting. So that would be the setting here. Did we talk about this earlier in the stream, Mark?
Somebody brought up ABC Warriors, and I have talked to Russ a lot about Slain. All I could say is just watch this space, really.
The way it works with licensing stuff is we can't actually announce anything without approval from the ID holder, which is Rebellion. So we couldn't tell you even if there was a Slain in the works until they gave us the go-ahead to do so. But that doesn't mean there is, but it's just that if we haven't announced it, it's not that we're keeping it secret just to mess with people. It's just that we're not allowed to. If we haven't said it, it's because we're not allowed to say it.
That's why we're vague, basically. Yeah,
we're not big into keeping secrets. If we've got stuff to share, then we say
we really, really want to tell you what we work on, but we can't. So, for instance, if I was working on Nemesis the Warlock, I couldn't tell you anyway, even if you asked.
I can say that Andy has also contributed to Just Child. So,
yes.
Yes,
that'll be
there also.
Yeah, so that'll be the next in the Judge Dredd kind of storyline coming along with that series. But Road Trooper will be coming out before then, just to be clear.
We also have to say about Darren, given that Darren is such a Nemesis fan, actually you've been working on a Nemesis RPG since you were 12 anyway, so saying you may or may not be working on one anyway, it doesn't give anything away.
That's true. So I've had a question from Alex, and he said recommendations on to where to start with the supplements to build on the core book options. So this might be a good place, Mark, for you to explain how the supplements work with the core book and the way they're kind of intended, because they go along in the storyline. Is that how they're intended to be played?
Yeah, so it depends where you'd like to play, really. I mean, currently, as you said, the setting starts way back at the start of Judge Dredd's career. So Robot Wars is kind of the very first full story strip that appeared in the comics way back in 2100, is it set, I think? Or
2099, isn't it?
2099.
Darren will know.
I mean, I would it is clearly the one to start with.
But there is guidance in the core book to pick and choose from different eras. So really, currently at the moment, it depends if you want to follow Judge Dredd's storyline, then start from the Robot Wars. If you're not too picky, then just stick with what's in the core book. But then in addition to that, another consideration is that Strontium Dog is a completely different setting. So it's kind of like a standalone source book. So you'll need Judge Dredd core book to delve into the rule set, unless you have any of the other Warwin books. But it will stand on its own as a setting with enough rules in there to run it as a setting separate from Judge Dredd.
I think Robot Wars is probably the best one to start with because it's quite an easy concept to jump into. And I think out of all of them, even if it wasn't because it became first chronologically, I think it's still the one I would choose to start with. And not just because Andy wrote it. In fact, that's a point against it.
I think that's the strength of things. Anyway, it's that if you have a lot of people want to play robots, you want Robot Wars. If you have a lot of people want to play mutants, grab the Cursed Earth.
I mean, there's that too. Yeah.
Grab Luna 1, and this is where we've been really good. It's not, I think, they are standalone source books.
Yeah, and I think Cursed Earth is a bit bigger and it's a bit more of an epic adventure, and Robot Wars is a little smaller, maybe a little easier to jump into, maybe.
This lovely book here.
That one.
I think this is my favourite of the supplements because this was the first one that has my name written in it. So similar to Andy on that. But moving on to talk about the Cursed Earth and Luna 1, shortly we are going to have John White come and join us. He's having a few technical issues at the moment, but we'll get him to jump in. But Andy, you also worked on Luna 1 with John as well. So could you tell us a little bit about Luna 1, that setting, and about that book?
Yeah, well, that's the second supplement. So this follows Judge Dredd's adventure out in Luna 1, where he becomes the Judge Marshal. So we have essentially a source book all about the moon, which is the themes to it are very much sort of frontier, Wild West setting. So this is where I very much enjoyed. Basically, the adventure I wrote for it is essentially High Noon. A gang takes over a small town that's so out of the way of the main cities of Luna 1, there's no help on the way. So either you play with the gang trying to do all the things, commit crimes and make all the money they can, or you play citizens of the town trying to get rid of them. But in the meantime, a judge is coming on the next train somewhere, and for a sort of High Noon stand up at the end, you can have and this is where I love this universe. You can throw in all the Western tropes, the man with no name, gunslingers at dawn, saloon bar fights in a science fiction game, and it fits perfectly, and you can enjoy every minute of it. And that's one of the things I really love about this. Plus, of course, you've got all the other details that make it a science fiction setting. So, if you go out on the moon, you need to bring air with you because, all those things, you can die out there. There are some horrible, the moon is no more hospitable in the Judge Dredd world than it is in ours. And, of course, the supplement also gives you a load of bits and pieces about, how to do space adventures, what the moon is like. And it also lets you, as part of the Judge adventure with that, because we have a sort of campaign outline that you can work with, where you go with Dredd. So that's one of the selling points of that one is, although it's a bit of a two-edged sword because Dredd is not the most forgiving of bosses, but the first thing you do in that is you have been picked by Dredd as his sort of entourage to go and help him in his Luna 1 mission. And so you can say, why is it your characters have been picked personally by Dredd? And of course, all the way through, a lot of player characters might be going, we'll just get Dredd to sort that out. You do not want to do that because you do not want Dredd to turn around and go, why can a group of qualified judges not handle this? That's a Dredd. As a boss, he is somewhat a hard ass, and but you can interact with him. You can play the game with him as a character there, and he doesn't overshadow the adventure, which he is going to do in these things. So,
Fantastic. That's a really good thing. And we've had somebody mention the issue of Lore of Judge Dredd featuring that. So if you're interested in reading the comic books, link to that. There is a little link there. Talking through Luna 1, because Cursed Earth, John wrote that as well. So this is the book that he also wrote. Does anybody have any questions about kind of the Cursed Earth? Or I don't know, Mark, if you want to talk through that setting and what's kind of involved with that?
And show the map. The map's a gorgeous bit.
That was
we do have a map that you can make, that you can buy separately as a thing by itself. Where is it?
Was it A2, big A2 piece, Russ?
There we go.
Yeah.
That is also the only official Cursed Earth map that exists, I believe.
That's being printed outside of a comic.
Outside of being seen in the background of a comic panel. Yeah.
Yes, and that is available on empublishingrpg.com, so you can purchase that from there at the moment. So you can find that on our site there, along with all of these books.
We should have used it as a Zoom background for things.
And interesting, we should have used it as a Zoom background instead of all these various characters. As you know, so all of our products are available on EM Publishing RPG as PDFs and as physical copies. And what we do at EM Publishing is whenever you buy a physical copy, you do get the PDF for free as well.
Andy has to actually cycle around to your house and give you the PDF.
Yes,
it's my day job. I have to do it.
Signings make it cost less.
So we've had
so good. I'm a delivery driver as well.
sign of the times, aren't we all?
Yeah.
So we've had a question. It sounds like John is one busy dude by the sounds of it. How does he cope with the pressure? So in the private chat, John's just jumped kind of back in. So he's going to be just typing back on there at the moment. I'm going to try and bring him in on the stream actually, because his connection in the mini section of the screen looks like he's coming back on. So John, I'm going to try and bring you back in again, okay? John?
So I have to say, what John doesn't know about Judge Dredd in the world of 2000 AD is not worth knowing.
Okay.
I can hear you now, John.
Ooh,
are you with us?
Am I there?
Yay!
Yes.
I can hear you.
You will. Okay.
So
I need 6 people now. That's all.
Great. Hopefully, yes.
Hi, John.
That is good. Good to hear you.
Right. So I've missed a bit. I do apologise.
That's okay. We're just introducing you and explaining all the books that you're involved with 2000 AD. And we've had someone comment that you are a very busy dude. How do you cope with all the pressure of all those projects? Oh no, he's gone again. Oh no. But instead, what I'll do is I'll get Russ to do some work and talk us through Cursed Earth project, which we've already kind of touched upon, and Strontium Dog, which is the thing that we recently just fulfilled. So everyone that pre-ordered it should have had their copies now, and everyone here except Russ has theirs.
Except me, yeah. I'm the one person that has.
I don't have one yet.
But you didn't work on it, did you? So
There you go, Andy.
What's your point?
you still want a free book?
This is what I miss at conventions. It's when we go to conventions, then I can steal product from.
That is true. You can.
Say, I need that for research. Can I get a copy of that? You know?
That is fair. Speaking of free books, for anyone that has recently joined the stream, if you make a comment or ask a question, we will answer it. But also, you are entered into a prize draw to win a copy of Rogue Trooper, which is our next upcoming book. And shortly, we will be talking through a fun announcement about that as well. So moving up to Strontium Dog. Russ, what can you tell us about that?
What can I tell you about that? I can tell you it's awesome. I can tell you it's very red.
It would be better for Mark to do that, because Mark, your name is actually on the cover here. So,
the Strontium, yes. I mean, again, it was the same sort of thing with John, really. Darren wrote pretty much the entire book. John contributed to the stat work, and then I added some bits in for the character creation side of things. But yeah, it's one of the projects where I'd rocked up. Russ gave me Chaos Staff straight off the bat, and then Strontium Dog was being written in the background, so we kind of developed that as Chaos Staff was being created. And Darren kind of like delivered all of the text and it was down to us really to turn that into the book it is. But it was a fantastic kind of opportunity really to set up some of the production systems we have in place now, and smooth things out. It was a really great pleasure to work on. It's just awesome to see it in a hardcover book now.
I think the concept of Strontium Dog is such an awesome sell as well. It's just like your intergalactic bounty hunters. I mean, how cool is that? Your intergalactic mutant bounty hunters. I mean, that's all you have to say, really. That's all you have to say. Do you want to go back in time and arrest Hitler? Yeah, you can. Off you go. You know,
it's if you think Judge Dredd is zany, this is ultimately zany.
We have a question as well about working with a license such as 2000 AD. Is that, are we allowed to expand on the game lore, or do we have to stick to the IP holder's information?
We don't really need to. There's just 40 years of it. I mean,
wow. We did exactly that with Strontium Dog, really. Darren created an entire system for us. Some new characters and a whole new storyline to go with it. So within the bounds of it, it's not drawn directly from the comic book. You know, we can say this isn't particularly drawn from the comic book, but yeah, we can expand in certain areas with Rebellion approval. It's within the bounds of possibility, definitely.
So, I mean, it's similar to thinking, you know, in Luna 1, you know, we created our own frontier town, and that's not really any specifically different to named frontier towns. You know, we follow all the same things that are going on, but you know, that setting is new, so there's a lot of extra bits and pieces you can do with that.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't like just change, you know, Judge Dredd and give him a different middle name or something. Well, we couldn't make any kind of change like that, but we can add little bits on the periphery. I mean, it all has to go through Rebellion anyway, so
yeah. I think generally, and I think this counts for pretty much every setting, if you're adding something that has never been put in before, like say, just, you know, add a particular drink of coffee or something that people do, the settings usually aren't so worried about that because there isn't something that negates that. But if you want to change something, or there is something that amends other things later down the line, then obviously it's a completely different. So you can get a long way from extrapolating what you've already got. And as Russ says, 40 years of comic, there's pretty much nothing they haven't already covered, really.
And I think as licensors go, like Rebellion is really, really cool to work with. They, you know, it varies according to who the license holder is, who the IP holder is, and some have more layers of bureaucracy than others, shall we say. And Rebellion, you know, they're good and responsive, and they're great and friendly and supportive and everything. So that makes it easier.
Definitely. We've had a comment as well about Warlord games that have a range of minis that are 2000 AD ones, and can they be used easily in the RPG games? And the answer is yes. We actually spoke to Warlord Games. I think was it UK Games Expo? We had a chat with them, but they have actually sent us some of their minis, which have got lost in our warehouse. But when we find them, we'll put them on our website to sell. Is the brief summary. And they actually ordered some copies of our RPG book as well, so they actually sell this our product on their website as well, so we kind of wait to the product.
Mark, do you remember which adventure was it that we put some Warlord Games minis rules in the back of?
So that was there was a Fatties scenario. I can't remember what it's called.
No, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was the Checkpoint.
Yeah.
So Ben Rogers, who's hanging around in chat, wrote Checkpoint Charlie Mole, and also
that's the one.
He's a fan of playing the miniatures game, so he wrote. There you go. So he wrote in the options for using the Strontium Dog characters in the miniatures game, and I've not had a catch up with you this week, Russ, on that, but I had a chat with Warlord directly, so we're looking at getting together more closely to have potential for some crossover rules, which again Ben's already written. So yeah, we're looking to help tie the lines up so you can enjoy it across multiple platforms. Is the answer, really.
Yeah. Yes, this is one of the things I rather love about this industry is there is a lot of cross-pollination. You know, we all work for loads of different companies, and it's quite rare to talk to another company and say, hey, should we do a thing that will help us both out with a license for them? And say, oh, no, you know, we don't want you're stealing money from us or any sort of thing. There's usually everyone's a fan of their own games. They all want to help each other expand and succeed. So it's a really nice place to work, basically.
Yeah, with Strontium Dog, what was amazing was Warlord, actually. I got in contact with one of the writers, Gav Thorpe, and he gave me a whole bunch of stuff to reference from their equipment list. so that I could build out our equipment list for Strontium Dog and make it compatible with the miniatures game.
Now, I just think we had a question for John that I have relayed to him via the slower internet of text, and he has come back with an answer about the persona chip. So John has said that they download the personality of an individual at the moment of death into a chip lodged into the skull. The chip needs to be removed quickly and in a gruesome fashion. Then it is stored in a piece of equipment with a microcircuitry that allows it to talk and listen and also operate the device. The chip will hopefully get returned to the genetic scientists who can install it in a fresh cloned body. And also he said that rules for different devices are in the book, plus biochips have special exploits. So hopefully that answers your question there. And we had the scenario we did playtesting Road Trooper actually involved such a device, if you remember. That was November 2019 we played that.
No spoilers though, because that's in the book. So.
I won't say anything more.
You know, any time in any other game, it'd be really sad when your character dies, but now you can scoop out the chip, make another one, and you've got a magic item. It's brilliant.
Well, that's true. But I mean, there's not really permadeath in that many games anymore. Like, 5th edition D&D, it's kind of like, get a diamond. But anyway.
Don't talk to Andy about D&D.
Andy loves D&D.
You'll give me his. He's got a special TED talk that he gives.
I've got a special TED talk.
But sadly, this is not the place we're going to have that talk. I'm sure Andy will get his own. He will have his own live stream talking about his love for Dungeons and Dragons. But here we'll be talking about Judge Dredd and the worlds of 2000 AD.
As a sort of segue, I have to say I'm running the Dragonlance campaign at the moment, so what I find I quite like with it is that I feel I'm Russ's nemesis because we share the same birthday, and so one was born loving more simulationist narrative D&D like systems, and I was born more narrative and the other way around. But this is what I think has been great working on Dredd, because when we did our original playtesting, most of the other guys in the team were doing adventures where they want to do the battle maps and figures and a more simulationist style, which is great. But of course, I come from a slightly different background, and so my plan was, does this still work in a narrative way? And it absolutely does. And I always think that's quite a nice strength of the team. We've got a lot of mixture from different, not just, we're not all just one particular game players. We've got a lot of different backgrounds from how we approach role playing in general. And I think that's made an extra strength to a lot of the books. We've added things that will fit pretty much any gaming group's style of play, because we've all found different ways to enjoy different aspects of it and make those things work. And it just it works brilliantly for all of those, which has been great.
It's pretty good. We just had a question in the chat. Somebody was asking for the link to the mini adventures we talked about. And all of our products and everything we're discussing here, you can download the PDFs today and also order or pre-order the physical copies of the book at our website here, which is enpublishingrpg.com. So everything can be found on there. If you're on top of the screen, there is a little tab that says Games. If you're interested specifically in Judge Dredd and the worlds of 2000 AD, wouldn't you know, there's a little button you can click there and it will show you everything in that line there. And this, I think, is a nice segue leading us in, Russ, to maybe a little bit earlier. Should we do a little announcement about Rogue Trooper? Would you like to?
I think Mark should be allowed to do that.
I will pass that to Mark then.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to. I thought you'd enjoy it.
Thank you. So we just had confirmation this week from Rebellion that we have final approval for Rogue Trooper as a supplement. So that item has now gone on sale today as a pre-order item. You can head to our website and pick up you'll instantly get the PDF.
Yes, you will get the PDF straight away. Yes. Yeah. So it's on our website. Head on over to our website. You can buy the PDF right now for 14 quid or whatever it is. Or you can pre-order the hardcover and you will get the PDF immediately for free if you do that.
You can. And I've just put the direct link to that product on in all the comments there. So if you want that, there's the direct link. But also if you can find it by going through enpublishingrpg.com and just going on to Judge Dredd.
I'll put something on the front page of the website once this finishes. The only reason it's not on there is because I actually said it live before the stream started and didn't tell anybody. So I had to leave it kind of buried a little bit. So, but now I'll make it more obvious.
Yes, so that is now live on there, so you can go to the site and pre-order it. We're thinking the physical copies of the games should be with you November time, were we saying that?
Ish, yeah, ish.
November time. Before Christmas.
Before a Christmas.
Before this Christmas, November time.
We'll keep you posted. So it is a 196-page hardcover, so it's a full hefty tome full of Rogue Trooper goodness.
So what can you tell us about the book for now? Those that are interested.
Rogue Trooper?
Rogue Trooper. So we've had a few questions about it, so I might plug some of them up whilst you give a little summary of it for those that...
I mean, before we go into that, I should say we've had several weeks of blogs worth of delving into the book, but we can cover some of it here, definitely.
And the blog is on empublishingrpg.com, just to clarify as well.
Under the news tab.
So what can you tell us about Rogue Trooper as an overview for perhaps people that... Yeah.
For one, I can tell you it's based specifically on the original Rogue Trooper and some of the spin-offs around that, so the 86s, that kind of thing. We haven't delved into the whole Friday universe because we didn't want to go down the route of alternate Rogue Troopers, and we wanted to keep to the core element. So it's Rogue Trooper itself was based around a war for New Earth between the Southers and the Noughts, and the iconic GI clones kind of led the forefront for that war in the comic. There was a massive massacre, and Rogue Trooper was left as the only GI. We've delved into how to give players options to play as GIs outside of Rogue, or just play your kind of civilians or criminals that might fall in the different elements around New Earth, because it was a paradise before it became a battleground. We've got plenty of character creation options again, and the life path systems. Then we go into all sorts of the equipment you can find on New Earth. We explore various campaign options and the elements that you can explore in Rogue Trooper and the setting. And then we head out across the galaxy, really, because the comic itself started to explore some of the other areas that the Noughts and Southers had expanded into or grown from before the New Earth became a battleground. So. And then there's a massive, huge NPC section once again for some of the iconic characters from the strip.
Yeah, it's a big book.
It is a big tome. New Earth is definitely not what it used to be, no.
Okay, great. So we'll take questions now on Rogue Troopers. If you have any questions about the book there, so you can go and pre-order it now. As we've mentioned, we've had a couple of people already go and do that, which is excellent. So I'll have all those details ready to fulfill as soon as we have it. We have a question as well about going back to Dredd as well. So about the hot dog run. Did we do something about this? Was that something mentioned?
So there's a career option in the core rulebook which represents you taking a hot dog run. I think it could work well as a mini adventure. Maybe one of those PDF mini adventures we do as a hot dog run. That could work well.
That could work, yeah.
Yeah, sort of a level 0 introduction adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's broached again in Cat Staff, so there's a little bit of talk about heading into hot dogs and that.
We have a question here as well. Do the players keep playing their characters once they are chips in equipment?
So again, we give some advice around that. The main thing is that you will still play your chip's personality, but we suggest that you bring in another character option until you can get yourself recloned. So yes, you can.
And just as a testament, show how quickly you can have your product. Somebody has just pre-ordered it now and is currently looking at the PDF. So
I'm already seeing notifications coming in as well purchasing. Yes.
So if you're really interested and you want to know, you can talk to us about it now and be flicking through. So you can go to empublishingrpg.com and order it, and you'll get the PDF straight away. So a question we've had here is: will there be other supplements for other rogues from the comments on the side?
Well, it's a conversation I've been having with John and Ben, because Ben, who's on our chat at the moment, as we mentioned earlier, provided a couple of scenarios for the Rogue Trooper book. So I'd definitely like to go into the Nordland side of things and look at the Jaeger investigations. Would be pretty cool. I'm not sure if we haven't made any plans yet for jumping ahead to Tor or Azure, but again, it's going to be a watch this space. I mean, we've definitely got scope to revisit Strontium Dog and Rogue Trooper in future.
Well, one thing we do is we do mini adventures in PDF format we've done them with Judge Dredd, we've done them for Rogue Trooper, and we'll continue doing that for those. And we'll also do it for any new things like Rogue Trooper that come out. and that'll just be an ongoing thing.
Yeah. I should say the 86ers and Jaeger are talked about in the Road Trooper book.
Yes.
It's just whether we take that further with a specific supplement delving into investigations in Nordland with Jaeger, that kind of thing.
Another question we got about Rogue Trooper as well. Given it's having constant battle zones, is there advice on how to handle the big battle scenes in the book?
There's a whole section on campaigns, and I don't mean like there is a campaign, there is a campaign in the book, but there's a whole section on how to handle campaigns and the kind of things you can expect. We don't particularly delve into big battle scenes, other than in a narrative. I'm chuckling to myself because I know Andy's just written a similar kind of thing for Judge Child in reference to starship travel. So yeah, more in a narrative sense than any kind of hard and fast rules.
Good to know. Good to know. I think we're up to date with a lot of the questions at the moment that are coming in. So if you have any other questions, no spelling mistakes spotted yet. Yeah. So far, no spelling mistakes. But if people find them, I'm sure they will message us to say.
Yeah.
And you can email mark@empublishingrpg.com if you spot any spelling mistakes.
Yeah.
any at all, just even the slightest one.
There don't even have to be spelling mistakes in our books. Just any spelling mistakes you find anywhere.
In any RPG. In
or any book.
RPG.
Or street side, anything you see. Yeah.
Okay.
Pamphlets.
Although you might want to specify, do we use American or English spellings? Because the number of times I've seen
big one.
Someone had a big complaint about some book that I've worked on. Said there's spelling mistakes everywhere, and I said, "You do know it's in British spelling, don't you?" Oh, actually, maybe there's not quite so many then.
Yes, we are. If you could not tell by my toffee accent, we are a British RPG company.
To Oxford Common or not is the big one, though, I guess.
No, now
we don't.
You thought the D&D argument was a big one. No. Wow.
We've had a couple of questions as well about tokens for the 2000 AD line. So we do have a token set currently that you can order on our website, which I've listed several times.
Buy that, and we'll consider making some more.
We do have a lot of our.
It's a good idea.
We do have a lot of our token sets in our warehouse. So what we would need to do if people were looking more for the other lines, we would need that to be kind of successful and go through to prove that it's a good option for us. Is that fair to say? So if you're interested in more tokens, buy the current tokens, and you can do that on empublishingrpg.com.
I think the phrase is "vote with your wallet" is the technical term.
Yeah. So there we have a question as well about the characters, and they're based there.
Absolutely, there are Nord options. Yeah, as we've talked about Jaeger already, there are definitely Nordland options. Strigoi feature heavily in there as a species, and there are career swimmers also as well. So.
I think I was Strigoi in the playtest, wasn't I, for that one?
Yeah, we were. It was.
That was a lot of fun.
What did I play? I can't remember what I played now.
I can't either.
I think you were an 8, weren't you?
Yeah, I think you.
No, that was the scenario we played. Was it just Dredd scenario?
I think we did. I think just.
No, the 8 was the one I ran.
But I had a feeling that you'd done an ape in that as a player character as well.
I don't know, maybe, I can't remember.
Apes were
I have no idea.
Yeah, and the person asking about more tokens, in fairness, has already purchased the existing token set. So well done. You're doing fine. Encourage your friends, families, and passers-by in the street. But yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about Rogue Trooper, and we've touched slightly on the day the law died as well. Do we have any information that we can share about the day the law died?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so as I said earlier, it's more heavily featured on the SJS, the Special Judicial Squad, because it's set around the Judge Cal storyline, who was the head of the SJS at the time before he moved up to become essentially Emperor of Mega City 1. So we delve into their origins and how they have an influence on the judges, kind of who judges the judges. So that is the SJS. We look into some career options with them. We delve into the storyline with Judge Cal, how the players can have some influence on that, or running in it, particularly because it becomes so he introduces a curfew. This becomes even more authoritarian than it is, but on a mad whim, if that's possible. So it just gets absolutely even more crazy. How that can affect the players within that time frame. We give some people some scenarios that can again influence that time period. So we've got like a Rescue Walter scene, and a few other things happening in there. And we also look at the Helter Skelter timeline, which happened further on, where Judge Cal reappears. So we've covered that as well. So there's some really nice stuff in that supplement to delve into that time frame for the setting.
We've also had some questions about the Clegs and their representation.
Yes. There are character choice in there as well. You could opt to be on Judge Cal's side, or you can opt to try and bring him down.
Excellent. So as a lot of people are at the moment playing RPGs and doing things like UK Games Expo conventions online at the moment, we've had a question about character sheets for things like Roll20 and things like that, if we had any plans for that.
Not specifically, but that is a good reminder that we should do that.
Yeah, I'll put a note now.
Yeah.
I think
that's been something that's been on my mind for ages, and it's just, we'll do that. We do need to do that.
Somebody say
we have the contacts, so
there's a What's Orders new one, and in Fantasy Grounds there's a What's Orders new module set as well, which will work with this. It's just it won't necessarily be themed in the same way, but it's the same rule set.
So in theory, you could use that for now, and it is on our to-do list to do something like that for 2000 AD. Is that the kind of summary?
Yeah, basically.
There we go. And tabletop anthologies are... I'm just going to mute Russ because there's drilling happening in the background there. So tabletop anthologies, which they do a live stream of playing a 2000 AD game every week, are working on one as well. So let them update us on that as well.
If you do have any other questions or would like to see a stream, tabletop anthologies have a great roundup every week, and they have some roundups of the system, and also a fortnightly stream, I think.
Another great one was the Table Story guys, and they did theirs. It was about a year or two ago now, but it's so funny, really worth watch.
Fab. They are saying that you'll need the book to run through it still.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the contacts to make something like Fantasy Grounds happen. It's just we will keep you posted on that. Definitely look into it this week.
So that is something we'll be looking into. Just as a reminder for people, someone said about Table Story games, they would recommend them as well. So that is good. I think that might be my GM, actually, for my game I'm running, but I'm not sure. Anyway, somebody's just asked about, are these uploading this to YouTube? It's not going to YouTube at the moment. In the future, we'll look to do that, but it will be saved on Facebook and also on our Twitch stream. So if you go onto our Facebook pages, I believe where you're watching it now, it will be on there.
We export them and upload
them.
I would have thought.
I'm sure we can get it. I'm sure I can get it on YouTube at some point, but at the moment it will be saved on Facebook videos, and I can see the person asking is already on Facebook commenting via there. So, and that will be on there straight away. But yes, we will look to get them to go to YouTube. This is our first time doing any live stream like that, and I've kind of had to organise it all. So I've done my best with it. So we have some other questions as well. We have something for you guys saying thank you for creating the games. And it's fun to support indie games designers and that they enjoy playing Judge Dredd. So they really want that free copy of Rogue Trooper. So I'm doing it via a random number generator. So everyone that comments, there is a number assigned to your comment. And so I will just do a random number generator. So that is how we're going to be doing that in a moment. I'm just going through to check.
There's one there that I can address. Not the best phrasing, but a woman left with plain dolls, or things like Sister Sludge, or a female troopers given the
feminism, Yeah.
So there is a content warning at the start which covers some of the historical influences of the strip itself and the more earlier problematic terminology, I guess. And we've tried to address that in a content warning bar. Female troopers are totally an option, and that's covered in the dolls section. And yes, they are unfortunately called dolls. We've kind of trodden a thin line, I guess, between canon, comic book canon, and today's very appropriate social changes. We kind of offer that advice in the content warning box. And as John said in the chat, that females are used in both armies. Dolls is the kind of problematic term around GI clones. that was from canon, but we've given a lot of advice in there to steer away from that, basically.
Yeah, I think with any RPG games in any setting, so you can decide at the table what you want to do in terms of that, whether you want to play on prejudice. So before I ever play a game, I do a thing called Lines and Veils, where we agree at the table, do we have any topics we just don't want to discuss or have exist in this universe? And do we have any topics that can exist in the universe, but we don't want to role play out specifically? Because, anything's fine to kind of role play as long as everybody's happy to do that. And sometimes there are games, you're like, if you're dealing with something, you're like, actually, I don't want to have this in my game because I deal with enough of that in real life. So can we not have that in? And other people are like, no, I think it's interesting as part of my character struggle that they exist in a world where these problems are. So I think it's easy to take that out if you don't want to play with that in your game. Is that fair to say, Mark?
Totally, yeah, absolutely. Again, that's what the content warning advice is about. And we delve into kind of like battle shock and things in the campaign section I mentioned earlier. Now, being an ex-vet, I suffer with PTSD, so certain aspects I don't like to talk about at the table. That's all what the content warning box and the campaign section offer is just, as you said, lines and veils. Keep away from things you don't particularly want to discuss.
It's like once you've accepted a world with psychic powers, clone chips and laser guns, then it shouldn't really be a stretch if you want to dial down the patriarchy in it a bit.
Exactly.
Yes, I think that's definitely true. I mean, the world is very different from when things were written, and but the Judge Dredd universe isn't a very nice universe in general. Not just for it's kind of a bit fascist and not great in a lot of ways. So there is an understanding that we're not trying to say what a great little land this is. It should just be just like this.
Wait until you get to Nemesis.
But it's really...
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of important to say that Judge Dredd and Mega City aren't a recommendation at all. They're a warning, not a recommendation.
Yeah.
It's a dystopia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's really nice to see that your daughter is involved and playing RPGs, which is really great. I think the industry has changed a lot, and there's a lot of kind of good representation in the industry now. You've got more women playing games and being RPG writers. I know in the last 10 years that I've been involved with RPGs, it's been very different. From the first time I went into an RPG kind of convention group and there was a meerkat effect, now it's not really, that doesn't happen as much anymore.
Well, that is what happens when you go to meerkat conventions.
Yeah, it was an RPG convention. I more meant, the moment in a Western where they're playing the piano and somebody that's not local comes in and everyone stops playing and they put down the cards. There can be that moment sometimes.
Like the American Werewolf in London pub.
Yeah, I was just thinking American Werewolf in London.
Exactly, that's the analogy for that.
I was to say I did have an interesting story with a Polish friend of mine who's one of the rare people who actually pulled a role-playing game off a shelf and read it and figured out how to do it with her friends. And they're all a group of entirely girls, and they played and enjoyed role-playing for quite some time. And they looked up and went, "Oh well, there's there's a convention in our local town. Maybe we should go and see what other people play this game. But we're never going to meet any boys playing this. I mean, this is all about telling stories with your friends and interaction. Boys aren't going to be interested in that." And they took one step into the convention and went, "Oh, there's a different demographic in here."
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the statistics online, I think in one of the podcast episodes, Russ, you talked about this, that actually it's pretty close to 50-50 of people that play RPGs online. Was it the Coast that put that data out?
Yeah, I mean, it's not 50-50 yet, but I think it's in the 40s now.
It was,
so
And
it was only like 5 years ago when they said it was about 15%. So it's been, a lot of that change has been very recent.
Yes, definitely. And I think you can see it as well. And you also have lots of people that are non-binary as well and queer playing games. So I think the fact you can play games online works
I think
really well.
streaming really helped level that a bit because people get to see people like this bunch of people who they don't know, but they might see themselves on the screen and see themselves being represented, and they might think, "Oh wait, it's not just for middle-aged bearded men. Look, there's someone who looks like me playing this game. Maybe I can give it a go." And I think that is that's kind of how. Not that I'm a middle-aged bearded man at all, because I'm 21.
Yeah.
Well, 1921.
1921. What was I saying?
I've been 21 for nearly 40 years now. Yeah.
No, but streaming is so. Yeah, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think it's just generally it's nice that the more these things grow, the more there's a variety of games to attract different people. But
and there's that too.
The more
and with
chance someone will
Kickstarter,
find something that just clicks with them. And,
Yes, I just saw that comment in chat. Combat wheelchairs for the win. Absolutely. Bring it into my game anytime. More than welcome.
Yeah, and I think as a company, it's nice working for EM Publishing because that representation is kind of important. I think you asked at my interview, Russell was asking and why is, what do you think about diversity in gaming and why is it important to you? And I was like, oh yeah, I think that is quite a good thing to have and things. And I think everyone here is kind of that opinion, which is really nice because really we just
about it, which is
good. And I think it's just games are for everybody, and we really enjoy playing games, so we want to share them with people. And it doesn't really matter who you are, as long as you've got a nice character concept and you're not talking to people when we're playing, it's fine.
I have to say, Talisman Land, is absolutely awesome that your daughter's gaining an appreciation for 2,000 ideas at the,
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Get them playing Strontium Dog.
Yeah, and it's it comes down to the more the merrier. The more we have people from different backgrounds playing the games, the more they bring more stuff to the game. There's innumerable stories out there in all manner of different places and cultures. And if the whole market's just made up of one type of person, then it's just horrendously limited. And we all want more stories. Yeah.
For sure. Would you guys be happy to talk about the 2000 AD line and future projects that we're allowed to talk about that will be coming up? And just do a summary of what we're doing with that.
The thing is, most of the time, if we're allowed to say something, we'd have said it because we don't, like I said earlier, we don't keep secrets. So, if someone, asks us, can you tell me what the release date is for this thing? I haven't seen an announcement anywhere. That's no, we're not keeping it secret, waiting for someone to come and ask us. As soon as we have that information, it will be out there.
I really wanted to talk about this originally, and the only person I think I talked about to was Mark and Andy, obviously, and that was before Mark joined us.
Yeah.
And it was like, I wanted to do Strontium Dog.
Maybe
Nemesis,
we could talk about the Worlds of 2000 AD we'd really love to do. Were we able to get round to that product yet?
Okay.
I've just realised I took that question out of context there, actually. I think he means 2000 AD character from the comic strip, doesn't he? And I took it as 2000 AD character that we played.
So we're kind of coming to a bit of a wrap-up of this stream here. It's a little bit shorter than we planned because unfortunately we couldn't get John on to ask the questions live. He has been in the private chat, chipping in here and there where he can, though. So thank you, John, for bearing with us there. So before we go, did anyone have any other little questions they wanted to go through in the comments? Now is the time to ask them. And as a little wrap-up for us here as well, if there's anything we haven't talked about that we wanted to, now is our time as well. So I don't know, Mark, do you think we've sufficiently gone through the 2000 AD line?
I'll probably delve into Strontium Dog a bit more, but I think it's just a great option in Strontium Dog to play intergalactic bounty hunters in a galactic playground. It's the world is your oyster with that, really. It's the galaxy is your oyster. It's a really great fun ride as mutants across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Or you could even play the pirates if you wanted to be hunted down by the Strontium Dogs.
We do have that bounty hunt system, so we can find out who you are and what you did.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think
that's we should about the book, actually.
Okay, great. And this book, if you do not have it now, is available on empublishingrpg.com to download the PDF today, and we'll send it to you in the post next week.
Everyone with a copy should hold theirs up just to remind Russ that he hasn't had his yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It'll probably be with you on Monday, Russ. It'll probably be with you then.
You didn't send me one, did you?
Chris asked the question of the favourite character. Johnny Alpha, mate.
Judge Dredd, for sure. Got to be.
Nemesis the Warlock.
We are having lots of thank yous for the stream, which is really great. And people saying thank you. It's been good to watch. Thanks for the stream. Enjoyed both of them there. We have
I was the best, wasn't I? It's important that I was the best. If people don't say I was the best, we're going to cancel everything.
No one's commented that, actually. I'm looking through. No one said.
No one said that.
Not one person. Not one
need to be stated, I imagine.
So that someone saying the mutation table's really great as well there. So one of our writers there. We have a question. So one of the last minute questions is, are you dealing with that, or could it be run with it? I don't understand the context of that question, so I'll lean over to you guys.
Not currently.
Not currently.
Sorry,
okay.
you say something there, Darren?
No, I'm just saying, in relation to that, I think, Mark, do you want to take that one, don't you?
Oh, no, I thought you had something to say, sorry, that's why I passed it.
No.
Not currently.
Okay, cool. Good to know. And we have confirmation that Russ was the worst. And
Wasn't the worst.
Jessica
Wasn't the worst.
I think it said was. Jessica was the best. So there we go. And Russ was the second best. So yeah,
I disagree.
I'm pretty sure he said you were the worst. He has clarified that he said wasn't.
Wasn't the worst. There we go.
I'm going to hang on to this this comment here and put that on my CV. But yeah, I think
I get what I think he means Johnny Alpha's death.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think the best way to answer it is the timeline of Strong Team Dog is there. There is the whole thing all the way from the beginning of Alpha's career to the end and beyond in the timeline. But in the actual book itself, we present the Strong Team Dog universe. So if you want, you could run your campaigns set post-Alpha. You can run them, if you wanted to, you could run them as though Alpha and Wolf never existed. So the world is the universe is your oyster. The EN system is there. Even if you don't want to delve into the canon worlds of Strontium Dog, you can just play around in that entire thing and never touch a single Strontium Dog world. Any of them, Cancia, you name it. Yeah. It's all yours.
Yeah.
Darren did a fantastic job with the timeline. And we do give guidance there on whether, the retcon of the storyline, where they bring Johnny back, that kind of thing, what you want to do with it. The explosion of the doghouse, that kind of thing, that's all covered in there, and options for whether you'd like to include it or exclude it, or just ignore it altogether as the comics did. So,
and I have to give a massive shout out to Steve Green, who did the Strontium Dog fan film, because his timeline was instrumental in me actually creating the whole timeline for Strontium Dog. It saved me a great deal of work.
And we just had confirmation that Russ was the best for drilling noises. So
It is a conspiracy.
It is conspiracy.
Every time I do a podcast, they start drilling. I'm convinced they've got a secret camera in here and they're waiting for me.
Yeah. We didn't have Hudson make an appearance, though.
Yeah.
Hudson was the best. Hudson, come here.
Hudson probably is the best.
Is Hudson doing the drilling? Yeah.
Can you get him on camera, or can we see him?
Can you jump up, Hudson?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
They were really coming through the walls.
He doesn't have half the sofa with me there.
Yeah.
Okay, fab. Well, I think we might wrap up there a teeny bit early, just due to some technical.
Oh yeah, we're sort of talking about dogs now, so I think we have finished.
Yeah, I think it's gone down into that. So first of all, I'd like to say some thank yous. So first of all, thank you to everybody that watched and commented, which is really, really great. This is the first time we've ever done anything like this, and we were worried that we'd be talking to an empty room. So it's really great that we've had so many people watching and engaging with us across Twitch and across Facebook. If you missed part of this video and would like to see more of it, or this morning stream we did earlier, they are both on our Facebook pages to watch. I'd like to say thank you to Mark and Russ for coming along and joining in this morning stream, and also now, thank you for your time. To Andrew, Darren, and John, thank you for writing the books and for being here. John, sorry that the technology failed us. But yeah, so thank you to everybody for taking the time to do that, and to the UK Games Expo for hosting this online. Hopefully next year we'll be able to attend in person. But yeah, so that's all from us today, folks.
I think we should have an EN panel next year if everything's okay with all of us. That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to arrange that. We had some plans for the actual UK Games Expo this year, but it kind of got... Yeah, it didn't really happen. But for future years, we would love to get the writers in so we can do signings of books and talk through stuff, and maybe have some panels where people can meet in person. And again, congratulations to Chris Drake for winning the book, and we will get that to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, and thanks to you, Jess, for doing a fantastic job on there.
Absolutely, massive thanks to you.
No problem at all. Thanks very much, guys. All right. Well, thanks very much. We all say goodbye now. So thanks very much, guys. Bye.
Ta-ta.